was my answer ultimately was like trying to find something that I ultimately can control, which are my actions and my characteristics. So in regards to how I identify, is like I want to identify as a good person based off of my actions. Because when I'm alone in the shower, like you mentioned, it's not that. Like a lot of my thoughts throughout the day aren't that great, like but none of that I don't think really matters. It's a bit of a fucking game and a mind fuck, you know what I mean? Because naturally you might think a certain way, but as long as you act out in the way that you're proud of or the person that you're trying to become, that's you. Whew. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Warriors Collective. Got my guy Ant Woods and Jacob Saldana here checking in. Just the two of us.
Yeah, man.
It's about to get real intimate.
Yeah, man.
We locked in. We locked and loaded. We're also going to have a staring contest the entire time.
I see you, bro.
I ain't blinking.
I see you, bro.
But I just want to say what's up to the fellas. We are streaming live on Instagram on both my page and Ant Woods' page. Hopefully, Strength Philosopher and Cutthroat Mike are chiming in remotely. But it's just me and you today.
Yeah, man.
And I'm excited to have this conversation, to actually maybe extend the conversation that we had this morning in today's men's group. And dive a little deeper.
Yeah.
Again, no pressure. No pressure. It's just me and you here, man.
Yeah, man. We had a good one this morning. I think I always tell you about how important that group is to me in the morning, bro. So if we can tap into that, man, yeah.
Let's start with a little check-in, man. This morning I was checking a little heavy, but today, right now, I'm riding high, man. Feeling very excited to get in here and actually change the pace a little bit. It's different. Me and you, we'll be able to kind of just talk. So I'm excited for that. Grateful for you to be able to make time for today, and feeling grateful to be here on the mic. Thanks for Jeff for coming through today as well. Appreciate you, brother. But yeah, man, feeling a lot less pressure than I had on me this morning. So,
thank you for that, man. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. This morning was heavy for both of us a little bit, yeah. Which happens, right? So, silence the noise a little bit from myself, and checking in with a bit of concern. I'm concerned, obviously, for our two brothers that can't be with us here today right now, but I'm also very, very excited for the future. Made some new decisions, some fresh new choices. I'm conquering some things that I've been really, really nervous and afraid to conquer.
Okay.
And I'm excited. I'm checking in with some excitement, man, because this, I think, when we have our dialogue, man, we really tap in. And since the first time I met you, our energy, I feel like we definitely understand each other in a really real way. So excited. I'm grateful. My heart is full. Jeff, I appreciate you, homie. You make us look awesome up here. But, my heart is full, man. I'm grateful today.
Dope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, why do you think it is that we are able to kind of dive in and connect so much? Because, it was kind of immediate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We met, and then we hopped on a podcast, and we were able to kind of chop it up. But yeah, I don't know, maybe the similarity is that we really try to dissect things. We really are interested in understanding why we show up the way we do and really trying to get ahead of that. So although we share fairly openly, when you're sharing with somebody else who also does that, it's just like, I guess maybe that's the bond, that's the connection there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like, at least when I came into your energy and just experience being around you, I could tell right away that you had a certain experience and you have a perspective, and you were welcoming with me, and it made me just want to be just as welcoming, right? And I have experience. I have a bit of a perspective, and personally, I have a difficult time relating to people that don't have perspective. I have a difficult time relating to men, especially that have never been down. You know what I'm saying? I have a difficult time relating to people who've never lost. I have a difficult time relating to people who've never been at the bottom. And I would never judge you to your face, but I judged you, and I was like, this guy, he's been through some shit, and so have I. And I was like, I could rock with him. And you were open with that in a real genuine way. I don't know if you know it, but you just came off like, I've been through some things, and I know exactly who I am, and I'm working on that. And I was attracted to that straight up.
When you mentioned about like other guys that what did you say, haven't taken any losses, or
yeah, like you've been at the bottom. You know,
you think that's even true, or do you think they're just not willing to share that shit?
I don't know. I feel like there's some people that. I definitely feel like there are some that have been at the bottom and aren't willing to share, or maybe aren't self-aware enough to even know that this is the bottom. But I feel like there's some that, privilege has been very, very fortunate with them, and they just don't necessarily know what it means to lose. Yeah. I think it's rare, but when it comes to meeting people, and I can tell that they've have a perspective in life based upon where they've been or where they're headed. Especially someone like you, bro. I rock with you 100%. Yeah.
And I guess maybe even if those people are taking some losses, they're not really internalizing that to try to understand why the loss was made, but maybe reach for excuses.
But that's like
point blame.
That's like what we do every morning, every Tuesday, right? Like self-assessment, man, and understanding who you are and being willing to look at that shit, because it isn't always like looking in the mirror is a scary thing to do. You might not appreciate. You might not even really recognize what's looking back at you, and then you're in the position to have to do something about that.
Yeah, it's living the examined life. Trying to get outside yourself to look at what you're doing well. Try to get outside yourself to look at what you're doing not so well. And Huberman put out I wish I could quote this better, but there was a post on his page a couple of days ago about, a certain, like, if you're too introspective, that shit is going to bring on its own set of anxieties. Right. So if you are too reflective, and when I read that kind of hit home, because that's where I'm at. I feel like I'm constantly trying to see how I'm showing up. I'm constantly trying to dissect my decisions. Which, when you live in that, it's kind of a spiral, and it's a nightmare.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no contentment in that whatsoever. And I've shared numerous times about how hard mornings are for me, and it's like there's just this lack of motivation, lack of purpose. And when I was talking to you this morning, it's like I honestly can't tell you when the last morning I woke up when I was like stoked, and amped. And like, my goal is not to be anybody's fucking guru. Like, don't look at me like I got it all figured out, because I sure as fuck don't. Like, I'll willingly admit to everybody that it's like I don't, I feel like no direction in the morning.
Yeah.
What I mean? So don't do exactly what I'm doing,
right.
because it's not generating the results necessarily that I want, because there's this feeling of dissatisfaction or discontentment or not really knowing, right? So in trying to unpack this, just trying to figure out what it is, and through that conversation, this morning we kind of touched on the point of like just feeling inadequate, and what we do in order to try to put a Band-Aid on those inadequacies.
Yeah. That conversation this morning, when I was speaking about myself, at least, inadequacies, I've experienced, conditional love, so to speak, and what it means to feel like you needed to perform in any respect, athletically, sexually, intellectually, financially, perform, whatever it may be, to receive some type of love or fulfillment. And you almost without a doubt are left feeling inadequate at some point.
Yeah.
And so for me, you're left with self, man. You're left with yourself, and you're left with who you believe you are, right? Like, it's not even about like who the fuck you think you are, who you're aspiring to be. Like, I always say, like, to my friends, it's like, who do you believe you are when it's just you and God? Like, when you're naked in the shower, no homo. Like, when you're naked in the shower and it's just you and God. Like, what is that? Like, who do you believe you are? And that's who you're going to perform. That's who you're going to be at the end of the day. Like, you're going to make those beliefs true. That's just my my perspective. And so, and I'm in those situations where I'm feeling inadequate, which is life, you know, that happens to us. I have to rely on who I believe I am, you know, and if I don't believe I'm dope, I won't be, you know what I'm saying? If I don't believe I'm strong, I won't be. And so it's just working on self, and that's what we do, you know?
For you, man, like, what is that real answer though? Like when you are I had a conversation yesterday, and you know that's kind of, we went there a little bit about, you know, identity and like, you know, how we identify, and it's like, how much of that is, what does that mean? You know, like, you know, are we working on a shared definition of this? Like, what does that mean? So like, are we in control of how we identify, or is that an external thing and how we're perceived? You know, like what creates, I guess, the identity, but more importantly, how do you see yourself? Like, how would you how would you identify as Ant Woods?
Like how would I?
Like, how would you answer that question?
Oh man, bro, I don't know. Let me think for a second. I don't know, man. That's a really difficult question to ask. I almost want to like. You ever seen that movie, Anger Management with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Tell us who you are," and he's like, "I'm a lawyer." You know, no, you're telling us your job. Tell us who you are. Like, I almost want to go into like my character traits. I almost want to go into like my habits or my values, but I don't know how to answer that one, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I took it yesterday, is because that's a really heavy question. You know, the first time I kind of got on this path of like really looking inward and trying to solve my own problems, you know, I think I was reading an Eckhart Tolle book or something like that, and that was kind of one of the questions that was possessed. You know, it's like, how, you know, describe yourself, or like, who are you, right? And you know, that's, I got that tattoo on my arm, like, who am I? You know, because that was that impactful of like a thought process for me, because we're so quick to identify with these labels, which, you know, part of that exercise is, you know, who are you? I'm Jacob. Okay, well, what if your name was changed tomorrow and, you know, your name was Mark? Like, are you still who you are? You know what I mean? Oh, I have black hair, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what if you lost your hair? You know, all these different things, layers. You know, it's like, okay, you're right. You know, that's not who I am, you know, and like going back and back. And I guess even with the characteristics, as identifying with that, like, even if you make a bad choice, you know, say I identify as being like a good human being, you make a bad choice, are you still, you know, it's trip. It's kind of a trippy process, right? And it's like, I think that was my answer ultimately, was like trying to find something that I ultimately can control, which are my actions and my characteristics. So in regards to how I identify, is like I want to identify as a good person based off of my actions, because when I'm alone in the shower, like you mentioned, it's not that. Like, a lot of my thoughts throughout the day aren't that great, you know, like but none of that I don't think really matters. It's a bit of a fucking game and a mind fuck, you know what I mean? Because you know, naturally you might think a certain way, but as long as you act out in the way that you're proud of, or the person that you're trying to become, that's you. You know what I mean? So that's part of the challenge, is like, I hope I'm not necessarily that person that's alone in the shower, because that's when the wheels are just like really spinning. Like, I don't feel like, you know, a powerful person or a good person, or feel like I even have any control, you know what I mean? But as soon as I get out that motherfucker and I step out into the streets, it's a bit of a, you know, a different thing. I think I take on that and I start building confidence. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Bro, you're hella, like, you are so self-aware. Like, you gotta give me a second sometimes, man, because it's a trip. You know yourself so well that you can almost spar with yourself. I feel like you're almost like,
some people call that psychopath.
Like, yo, you're nuts, but
psychopath.
But like, I'm hearing you analyze yourself from the third party. Like, this is what I do, and this is what I notice about myself doing it as I do it, right? And that's I always say this shit, but that's a superpower, man. Like, I feel like I'm self-aware, but again, right? Like, spinning that web in your head almost to where you live there. Do you ever get off that? Like, how do you get off that merry-go-round?
You know, the only time I do is when I get out there and start interacting, you know, and that's when I kind of suppress that voice in my head a bit. that's the only way I know how to do it. But as we were talking about today, it's like there's action items that I know I can do that could also suppress that.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to try to start putting into play. And it's like it's kind of frustrating to me because if we were to have a conversation about your business or what you want to do, I can sit here with all the confidence in the world and tell you exactly what you need to do.
Right.
And
Action items.
This voice in my head, I can do that for myself too, but I have the barriers that I don't necessarily know how to get through, which is like really frustrating for me, and what creates the biggest feelings of inadequacy amongst myself. You know what I mean? Because like I'm great at giving advice. I know exactly what to do in a lot of different scenarios. I know exactly what I need to do right now. I just can't quite get over the roadblocks of inadequacies or whatever past issues to do it myself. You know what I mean? I think probably a lot of consultants are probably really good at that.
Yeah,
they're really good at helping people build businesses, but they probably haven't built shit themselves because they got their own issues tied up in that and they can't get through that. You know what I mean? So it's more than knowing. It's about applying to your own life, right?
That's about like I was having this conversation with I think Victoria, I think the day before yesterday, of just like the balance of being in your head enough to be self-aware, but knowing when to hop off that train and like play the real game out here. Or is this is the real game up here? Whatever it is, right? But like I believe that like life's a one-player game. Like it's just how you perceive what's going on. But like if the storm of your inadequacies is in your brain, in our brains, like that's, I think the analogy I used was like that's a story, that's a song we're playing for ourselves. But if that's a record spinning in my brain, you don't know that record spinning unless I tell you. Unless I tell you I feel inadequate, then you're like, oh, it feels inadequate. And then you'll treat me as such because you hear that song too. But at least for myself, there are moments where I feel inadequate at times, and no one's got to know that that song is playing. But our ability to just know it's a song and to act in real life as though I'm trying to figure out how to silence this song or at least pause this bitch for a minute. But I got to know that no one else can hear that but me. And that's kind of where I'm trying to be. I'm trying to live in that space because we're human, man. And I'm someone who, I think we talk about this all the time, but I'm somebody who I try not to, I try not to shed a bunch of negative energy on people when I'm feeling down at times or I'm feeling like shit. And because I never do that, people assume that everything is good with me all the time. And because of that, I don't get that constant, or that, I'm not that constant, but that random, hey man, how you doing? Usually, I get it from you guys now, right? But usually I don't get that. And so my point is knowing when to hop off that and knowing like, maybe I'm adequate. I'm just as adequate as I need to be. This song is running right here and I just got to figure out a way to pause this bitch,
Yeah, for sure. So, I think, how we get ahead of this, like how do we think about these things? Yeah. First off, kind of just, you got to be fucking brutally honest with yourself in order to try to, get a handle on some of these things. Well, so, the conversation kind of turned to, how we show up as men in our relationships. Yeah. And how we has showed up in the past. And, that's kind of what led to also that conversation of inadequacy and kind of the way we acted out. Or I'll speak for myself, in relationships, I've always felt, or even just more than relationships with women, just in relationships in general, how I navigate. I've been pretty damn insecure, and a lot of people would never know that.
Sure.
But when you start analyzing it, it all makes sense. Oh, this is why the younger version of Jacob did this, because he was insecure. So he felt like he had to be the loudest voice in there. He had to crack jokes. Sure. He had to swoop on chicks. Yeah. And, there's other things that, played into it. And, the point of this is to be real authentic and without, fuck it, I'll share, right? So it's like growing up as the youngest brother in this family. I had brothers that were closer in age to me, 2 years apart, right? So, I was a charm, I created a personality and a persona that was very, very charming, knew what I needed to say. Yeah. I was actually, I grew up like a real fucking adorable kid, cute as fuck, you know what I mean? Like, had a really really like it might be weird saying now as like a 37-year-old dude. I had a fine ass young when I was in kindergarten, fine ass girlfriend. This was I was in kindergarten too, so it's not weird to say. But like really pretty, like model type of girl, right?
Yeah,
and like we kind of dated off and on through elementary school. But like I was a cute ass kid. She actually was like a model for like Nordstrom type of shit. So like she took me to a show. You know, like I was gonna try to get in there. They tried to tell me to cut my hair. You know, I had stairs in the side of my head, and they wanted me to like clean it up. I was like, not happening. But anyways, cute kid, right? And then I got into middle school and I gained weight. You know, I hit my chubby stage. So I was like, fuck, okay, I got to build this persona to still get what I what came easy to me.
Right.
You know, and yes, this is a young kid coming to these conclusions. Again, like when you feel inadequate, you're going to do something to soothe yourself, whether you're aware of it or not. And now that we're aware of it, we're trying to not do that as grown-ups. But in order to like figure out like where the trauma came from to really solve it, you got to go back there. You know, you got to go back to those times. And this is my story, right? So it's like, you know, I became less attractive, you know, at least in my eyes, right? I got chubby, and I was like, okay, I got to be charming. I got to figure out how to crack jokes. I got to figure out how to talk to girls, blah, blah, blah. So I did that. Cool. Put on that layer. Things still going well, right? Popular or whatever. And then when it started coming to actually getting with chicks and getting with girls, you know, I'm the younger brother that's charming, got this fucking swagger, knows what to say, knows what to do, getting the girls. Then I got that older brother who wasn't in his chubby stage anymore, you know, also popular, also attractive, also cool, right? Who literally swooped in on every single girl I've ever been with. Up to, which is, you know, I don't hold anything to him. It is what it is. You know, it's how we rolled, whatever. I got mine back too on several occasions. But, you know, so now I'm dealing with that, right? The girl that you know, she wasn't the first girl I was with, but the first girl I actually cared for and was with. Yeah. Same shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm dealing with that, you know, in that moment, like, it was hard and heavy, you know. But the point is, I'm trying to peel back these layers to understand why I was acting the way I was acting. So, you know, that all created this version of me that felt like I wasn't deserving of that attention, you know, as just me being me. Like I had to then overcompensate and at times not let myself be so exposed. So, you know, that led to me disrespecting women. That led to me cheating. That led to me seeking out for attention to, you know, in a roundabout way to protect myself. Sure. You know what I mean? And that manifested in ways that I, you know, that I'm not proud of, but, you know, I see as being necessary for where I was at those times, right?
Those places,
Yeah, so, but I mean, I think that's just an example of how to, you know, kind of do this exercise, you know, look back and just like be honest with yourself and then eventually kind of share that, you know, so people have a better understanding of where you're coming from. And you know, so that, you know, that for me is how some of those inadequacies with women manifested, right? So now that I understand that, I don't necessarily have those struggles in my current relationship. Like, there's no threat of that for me. There's other things I struggle with, but that's not it. Like, there's no worry that I'm going to go and act out and try to, you know, get validation from some other female.
Right.
You know?
You tackled that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a trip, and like we can't discredit some of these things that happened to us when we were younger. You know, even though we joke about it now, we get over it. But
stages,
those things create trauma, man. You know, and like, you know, when you're talking about like your first experiences with girls, like sexually and shit like that, and you got that thing kind of weighing on you, that you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Has your brother been there? Like that shit will cause some trauma, right? And, you know, like we don't need to have an episode about sex necessarily, but, you know, when we're talking about trauma, it doesn't have to be a reoccurring thing.
Right.
It can be a one-event thing. And when you're talking about, like, fear of performing in any kind of way or whatever it might be, this is why we do the things that we do. And it's in your best interest to figure that shit out. Because
especially with trauma, it could, like you said, it could be something that a one-time thing, but it could be that one-time thing you don't even remember. You know what I mean? It could be something that you don't even, like, you can't even recall. and it's living every day in your behaviors and in the way you think about things and the way you think about yourself. Yeah, man, you hit that shit on the nose.
What about you, bro? Like, what are some of the things that I think that you're feeling inadequate about, that you maybe done that process and try to peel back to be like, okay, so, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I had children really early. Well, not really early. I had children at 19, and I was in a relationship very early at 19 with a wonderful person. She's a wonderful woman, a wonderful mother. We just didn't work out. And in that relationship, what I learned was I didn't know who I was, right? So in this process, I'm doing my best to make decisions that I think are correct. This is based on where I'm at, right? Based on where I'm at. And in this relationship that I'm in today, a lot of those behaviors, they're not present. And for a minute, I couldn't figure out why. I didn't want to give myself too much credit, but I did want to give myself a little bit.
Got to.
And I did a lot of reflection. You know, I write a lot, I journal a lot. And in these journal sessions in the morning, I'm writing about Victoria like almost every day. And not like the whole entire session's about her, but she's thoroughly woven into every process and interaction in my day to day. And so I had to do some reflecting on that. And in that reflection, I'm learning that honesty with myself has led to an almost inevitable honesty with her. So in meeting her and developing a relationship with her, I had to like tackle some serious insecurities in order to know who I was and then present that person to Victoria. Otherwise, I would have presenting a different version, and she would have met that person and been interacting with that person for a year and a half. And so, if that makes sense. That makes sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Insecurities are alive in everyone's life. And so, in my past relationship and relationships, my behavior, you know, it was that of somebody that just felt inadequate innately, naturally, right? Because I just had no clue who the fuck I was, you know? And I was desperately doing my best to do so. I feel like in a lot of ways as men, I can't speak for women, but as a male, as a man, I feel like you got to separate from the noise, you know, and just hear yourself, hear your own beliefs, your own thoughts, and just listen to what you really want, what you really don't want, and figure out, you know, how you really operate, and then move from that point. And at that position in my life, I hadn't done that yet. I had, you know, one son, a beautiful son, and then another beautiful son, and I was doing my best to do and be the person that these two wonderful children needed me to be. I just didn't know who Anthony was yet. And so I was kind of giving them an altered version of who I was, because I couldn't even give them the authentic one quite yet. And so today, my relationship with Victoria, but also with my relationship with you, bro, with everybody, with the homie behind the camera, with everyone, man, like it's super easy for me to present a more authentic version with less presentation of these inadequacies, because I've kind of, like you said, I've kind of tackled them shits already. I've kind of like wrestled with them a little bit already, because I'm fucking honest with myself to a fault. Like, especially in my journaling process, man, like it's a waste of time unless you're going to be honest with yourself. You're just writing a love letter to yourself that doesn't even mean shit. You know what I mean? Like, I see people write these affirmations or just like happy thoughts about something that you wish are going to come true. You know, like, I'm going to make lots of money today. Good things are going to happen for me. But like, are you representing that energy in your real life to make those things attracted to you? You know what I mean? Are you a shit person and then you're just writing happy things with a colorful pen and a wonderful journal? Or are you like really doing the work every day to like make sure that the things you want you too? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's like what I've learned. And honestly, I got to give a ton of credit to Victoria for that, because meeting her, I was presented with that opportunity. I saw her as a person, but also as a representation of a lot of the happiness that I'd thought about, and a lot of the joy that I thought about, and a lot of the things that I'd, you know, manifested for myself. I saw that in her friendship and in like the person she was. So I was in a position to say like, yo, do you want to pursue this path, or do you just want to keep on doing the shit you've been doing? But in order to do this, you're really going to have to look at yourself in the mirror in a very, very serious way, because authentic and genuine and true and candid, right? That's the only way those are the rites of passage, right? Like, can't go down this road without those things. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And it's a balance of it. You know, it's a balance of this reflection, and then doing the work. You know, actually getting out there and doing the damn thing. You know, it's like, you know, back to that Huberman post. I'm immediately kind of hard on myself. I'm like, you know, I resonate with that first half of that statement where, again, he's like, if you're too introspective, your wheels are going to spin. You're never going to get shit done. So that's for me in the morning. But, you know, when I do the 24-hour snapshot of my day, like, I am feeling pretty solid and pretty confident, you know. So I do have a balance of it. I just wish it wasn't so damn rough in the morning. You know what I mean? But you know, with that being said, there's some silver lining in that, and some optimism that comes with how great life can be once I figure that out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because life's pretty solid. You know, I'm pretty blessed, and you know, I have a lot of things I'm really stoked on. So if I can figure that out, it's gonna be all winning, man.
And you're aware, bro. Like, you're self-aware.
So, as we talked about, you know, like, I think I just need to plan a little bit better, man. Like, that's it, dude. Like,
don't we all, man?
I mean,
I say that for myself.
We all do, for sure. So with, I think, these relationships, and, you know, at least what I was sharing with this morning, I think what helps me with these feelings of inadequacy is for one, talking about it openly, sharing it, and then all I really want and out of these conversations that you and I have, that the other fellas have, and that I hope others are having, is that through these honest discussions, there's a better understanding that we're not all that different, that we all are humans, and through that we're going to make mistakes. And if we have more of these conversations, we have a better understanding why somebody does these things. And it's kind of a roundabout way for me to, like, protect myself, because if you understand this, you're going to cut me slack when I make those mistakes. You know what I mean? Because you know that I'm more than that one action, especially if you knew my history or my background.
Relatability,
you can really fucking know why I may have done something. You know what I mean? It's not, I would say, don't rock with that as an excuse to fuck up, you know, but know that the people around you that you got real relationships with are going to cut you a little bit of slack, you know?
Yeah. Back to that Big Sean interview I was listening to earlier, communication can save a nation, man. Like, knowing yourself, if you don't know that, man, let's go back to square one, but knowing yourself, or at least having interest in knowing that, are you willing to communicate that to said person? Like, relay the experiences to this person. Look, man, like, before I met you, these are some of the things I experienced. Like, if I had done like 5 years in the pen and I came across a woman I cared for, I'm gonna tell her where I've been. Otherwise, some of my behaviors are gonna be completely, like, they're not gonna make any sense. Like, why is he this way? Why does he respond to these things? But if I'm really insecure about being in the penitentiary and I'm very, very afraid to share this with this woman, I'm not gonna tell her. I'm kind of setting myself up, because she's not going to know, like, some of the reasons why I may be behaving. If I'm behaving, if some of my past is manifesting itself in my actions in the present, right? But naturally, you want to be open and honest. That way, like you said, you just alleviate a lot of these misunderstandings. You know, a lot of things that can pull relationships apart, pull friendships apart, are just misunderstandings, because I just didn't know where you were coming from. Yeah. You know, you shared something with me today that, I've already had, bro, mountains of respect for you. Like, you couldn't count how much, like respect I have for you. And you shared something with me that blew my fucking top off. And now, like, I got even more respect, right? So, had I not known that, I couldn't love you a little bit more than I already do, right? Like, I love you 1,000, like 1,000 times 3, right? And I relay that back to my relationship with Toria. You know, like, it's what I share with her, because I was open and honest with her from the very beginning. It gives her the capacity to care for me more for those qualities. I'm sharing those qualities, even if they're qualities I'm not even proud of, or qualities I'm scared of sharing, or I'm reluctant to make her aware of. She's gonna love me more for those things if I tell her. You know what I'm saying?
And at the very least, you ain't gonna have that pressure.
Yeah, and another thing, if I share information or experiences and it rocks the boat and it's a red flag, man, kind of great, right? Like, don't you kind of want to know that certain things in your past are not necessarily acceptable for the person in your present? I mean, or for the relationship or the friendship or the business or the transaction or whatever, whatever it is. You can take it out of the context of, any kind of, romantic relationship. But
Yeah.
just being authentic is never like a bad thing, in my opinion.
Nah, and this is the same process that you can do in so many different areas. Like if you're feeling inadequate around your finances or inadequate around your business, like this is the same process. You look back and kind of try to figure out where it started. And some of that, again, like there's some things that I keep looking back. And I'm like, man, why do I act this way?
Yeah.
And the whole generational trauma shit is real. You know what I mean? Like there's actually like biomarkers in our DNA. I'm probably using the wrong term, but that can actually be passed on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a trip. And that's some of the DMT stuff that I'm interested in. 'Cause I feel like you could maybe see some of that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because you can do so much of this and still not necessarily have all the answers, but you can get yourself pretty far through this process.
Right.
Of peeling some of that back. So and again, it's not to dwell on the areas you feel like you ain't doing your best in, but it's your only fucking hope to correct them. You know what I'm saying? So.
Again, I think it goes back to like willingness to like look at yourself in a very open and honest way. I feel like such a big strength in that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And like when you can get a group together and like talk about these, and this is something like as we talk about, the men's group that I think we can do better. We're doing pretty well in talking about our feelings. We brought this up a couple of times. Like, all right, what do we need to do here to make this, not a strategic move, but what do we need to do to move each other forward, right?
Yeah.
Like. Let's start talking about finances. Let's start talking about marketing. Let's start talking about the business stuff because, there's just might be some missing links and people and connections that we have access to that if we don't know that you need this thing, because again, like if you asked me a certain question about something, there's a very good chance that I know what to do that I'm just not doing for myself, but I can give that to you real easily and vice versa. So like my thing lately is asking for some marketing help, because I feel like that's going to solve my problem.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's I need some funding for this Pasadena business, right? So like my solution in that is like, oh man, if I can market this thing better, I'm going to solve that problem. But there's also, that's some external shit.
Sure.
Along with that reflection is a lot of shit that I can do personally to make it better. And these are things that I know, but I'm not necessarily being held accountable to do. So like the example in that was knowing that I'm always thinking that I'm always trying to figure shit out. I'm really hard on myself. It's hard for me to take time for myself. That like anything else, if you don't plan it, it ends up being just kind of this random thing that gets in the way, right? Yeah. So it's like, a snapshot of my day. Wake up, overwhelmed, thinking about all the things that I want to do because I didn't plan this out. I don't have a game plan. I have ideas that I think are going to solve my problems. I start going about the day. I start kind of working towards those, but again, with no structure. And then I get lost in the conversations and just doing what I do and interacting with customers or whatever. And I love that shit. So like I flow through that. Towards the end of the day, I get home and I'm like, okay, I put in a solid 10, 12 hours. Like I'm going to go and I'm going to relax. I deserve to relax. I'm going to start watching, the show that I'm on right now is The Last Kingdom, so I'm Netflixing the shit out of this. And, I'm sitting there and in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Like I'm being present right now. I'm enjoying the show with Laura. We're talking over it. We're having a good time. This is what it's about. This is about balance. This is about being present.
Right.
And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, fuck, man. Like I just wasted 2 hours last night fucking watching Netflix. I should have been emailing. I should have done this. And it's just like this revolving door that I feel like I'm just in for a minute.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Anyways, I guess my point in that is like I have these ideas outside of me that are going to solve my problem, but I also know these things that I need to do on my own and I can do better at. So like something's got to give, man. Like I got to either do that or someone's got to plug in. But either way, I don't know.
Bro, you give me like like the best advice. You have some dope ass, creative ass, ideas for me and my business and the things that I'm pursuing. What do you feel it is that holds not just you, but like on a grander scheme? You speak to a ton of people, you interact with a ton of different people, man. Knowing what to do, knowing what can make us better, I feel like is a really common thing. I feel like a lot of people know, like, yo, I could probably drink more water. I could probably, what do you think it is that holds people back from even just doing like the simplest of things the simplest things would even give them the biggest jump forward?
I think the stories that they tell themselves, the conditioning that they've received, and their feelings of inadequacy, that they don't deserve these certain things, right? So it's like, again, like I could find somebody in my exact same situation. I'd give them the same advice that I'm giving myself, but
That's dope.
I would but if they have the same holdups as you, they're not going to act on it too, right? So it's like another example would be Laura and her pursuit of her career in the music industry, right? And there's a lot of challenges. I don't know that industry at all, but right. It's like any other industry. At the end of the day, like you got to kind of just do X, Y, and Z. Right. So, I guess being, and when I can in that industry also, there's hella flaky ass people that don't do what they say, right? So. So when I'm interacting with her and she's sharing her stories about what may have happened today, I can be real blunt and be like, tell this motherfucker this, and this, right. Just like straight to the point, clear, concise, not disrespectful, but this is what you need. Mm-hmm. Because it's easy for me to hold her value and speak of a place from confidence. Like, this is what you say. You deserve this. Mm. You are worth this. You say these things, right? And for now, if that was me and I'm finding myself in that same situation to have a conversation with somebody, I don't necessarily value myself. Sure. I feel inadequate. I don't feel like I deserve this. So how am I supposed to speak in this confident manner or ask for this type of help? Because I got those issues, sure. Right? So that's why it's easy for me to give advice, because I have this narrative in my head all the time. I'm playing these things. I just
that makes a lot of
can't
sense.
Do that thing. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense.
So it's I wrestle with these things that are good. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, it could end up being a good thing. Then why I could maybe slide into more of this supportive role in startups, because I have this unique ability to be empathetic, to connect, to be strategic and know what someone's thinking.
Right. Read people.
And then somebody else acts that out because they don't have my shit, right? And I think this is the importance of a team and finding the puzzles that fit together, because there's some people out there that got buku dollars that are whack as fuck and ain't charming, and they need someone that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, once we identify our weaknesses and our inadequacies, you ain't got to, it's impossible to nail all those and be this perfect, completely well-rounded human being. Yeah. But can you create a network of a well-rounded squad?
Yo, and I think that's like the haymaker, but like that jab is, do you feel you deserve what you want? Like, do you feel you deserve it? Like, I feel like that's like the secondary to it, because your behaviors are going to reflect that. Ultimately, they're just going to reflect what you actually think you deserve. If you think you deserve the check, you deserve it. Yeah, you might even get disrespectful to get it. My fucking check, man. I deserve my check. But if you don't even think you deserve it, like deep down, it's like speaking to a client who wants to, lose some weight. Like, do you deserve it? Do you feel you deserve your goal? And if you feel deep down that you don't even deserve this, you got to step before that. Before we even get in the gym, let's talk.
Yeah, and it's interesting, man, because even being posed like that question right now, it's like, because it's just your relationship with so many things, like money, for example. Do I deserve money? I don't think any. So another example right now is like, I got a phone call from this cat who's got hella money, big time developer, owns like fucking part of Long Beach. Scenario, right? Calls me yesterday. He's like, hey, like, we're doing this recovery center over here. Mm-hmm. I won't give too many details. I want you to come by and give me your advice, blah blah blah. So, and somebody was kind of there when I was having this phone call, and he's like, dude, you should be charging him a consultant fee, because this guy obviously has money. But I don't even think about that. I don't even care about that. But that's also a kind of a Band-Aid, because I think because I have a weird relationship with money and deserving money. So, like, I would never ask for, like, oh, hey, yeah, okay, cool, no problem. It's going to be $1,000 for my time. I would never fucking say that. But do I feel like I'm deserving of you asking me for help? Yeah, fuck yeah, because I'm that guy.
What if you spin it to not deserving money, but what if you spin it to deserving my goal? whatever the fuck that is. I deserve that. I put in the hours for that. If it's an Apple, bro, if it's a Mazda 6, I deserve it. I earned it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just take it, not a dollar, but make it like the virtue, the thing. And for the person that's unsure about, I don't know, do I deserve? Have you done what's necessary to feel like this is what is coming back towards you, right? Like we said, like, have you presented the energy to make that thing want you back? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I've been in here every day, countless hours. No one's around. I work myself to sleep. I wake up grinding. I'm tired all the time. My fucking friends barely know me right now. I've been like, yeah, I deserve this shit, man. I'm going to make sure I get what's coming to me.
I mean, I don't know. I'm so fucking warped when it comes to a lot of that shit.
Yeah?
Because, I don't know, man. Because, like, I've been, in this game for a minute, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of times, because that stuff doesn't equate, like, linearly.
To the return,
You know
huh?
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't put in that work and then you get it back.
Sure.
And especially when you're not playing this, like,
Especially
employee
in your
thing,
business.
when you're not an employee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everyone's getting paid. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
everyone's getting their paycheck. I'm not. So that almost compounds the feelings of not deserving it.
I see what you mean. You're looking at it from a completely different perspective than I am too, and it makes perfect sense, bro. I see exactly what you mean.
I mean, it's a trip.
Because what I'm saying, even if it's valid, it doesn't even really apply. It's not linear. It's not the return isn't linear. Like, you don't get one, put in one, get two, put in two, get three. It's not that. That's not what it is for you.
Also, why I'd be so willing to go and do this stuff and add value for free is because that's something that I value, right? So when I'm looking for, say, an employee or somebody that wants to rock and build something with me, you're not coming with your hand out asking how much you're getting paid hourly. You're showing up, you're doing the work, right? So like I still embody that now when somebody else reaches out. Like, any advice I'm going to give, I'm not going to try to charge, like that's just because that's not what we do. We add value, you know what I mean? And like trying to believe in that. Right. I think part of, the frustration and challenge for me right now is that I've been doing that 100% authentically without any expectation of reciprocity. Mm-hmm. And now when I feel like I need help, there's nobody volunteering that shit. You know what I mean? And now I'm like, fuck, I'm at a crossroads because was I just doing all that? Am I a fucking good person? Or was I doing all these things because fucking universal karma says it's going to come back to me? And now I'm like kind of in this little point where it's like, fuck, need some help right now. No one's coming to fucking save me, So
I see what you mean.
But
bro, I love the way you think, man. Every time I talk to you, I gotta like take a second because you're only talking about you. That's the dopest shit about you, bro. You're only talking about you. And you can come to yourself from here, and then you'll back out, and you're like, no, I'm about to come to myself right here. Then I'm going to approach my psyche from this perspective. And I feel like you're always spot on, and it blows my brain how you can do that.
I mean, fuck. I mean,
shit.
I wish, I don't know, man. I just wish I can. I mean, I know it's coming, man. Like, I know I'm going to be able to act a little bit better, but I think knowing so much about what you need and what you want and just can't quite deliver on for yourself is kind of a tough place to be, though.
But, bro, I mean, we do it on Tuesday, but you do it every day. We do the work, man. And I feel like that's attracting people. People ask about what we do in our men's group. I don't even know quite how to share it without doing it. It's due diligence, but self-awareness is not the prettiest of things, man. You're faced with, okay, now I know who I am. What am I going to do about it now, right? And like I said, bro, you're doing the work, which is like, it's admirable as shit, man.
Man, I think I just need to keep the faith, you know what I mean, and have that, and there's been moments in losing the hope, right? And that makes a challenge. I'd probably say I'm kind of in that, valley a little bit right now, so it's tough to keep the faith. But, real quickly you can bounce back with excitement, right? As this guy reaches out, as I'm in this valley, like who knows what might come of it. Right. If I fucking, man up and I find an in here without manipulating too much of the scenario, but go and give that advice, give my genuine feedback on what I think that business could do to be successful, where my mistakes have been so far at the space bar. who knows? That could be value to be like, hey, you know what I really need is an investor right now.
Yeah.
I need someone to kick me a solid 60K. This is going to be my game plan.
Hey.
And, moving forward, what I can do for you is dial in. I mean, even just as I work through this and like I've had this conversation in my head and why I, took this meeting and whatnot is like, this is happening like real world. So it's like, this is part of, again, something I'm good at and also something that if you don't get a hand on is a little like troublesome to like play out these scenarios A, B, and C, right? So it's like you're going to try to plan a conversation before you have it is kind of anxiety provoking, but at the same time, like it prepares you to have that conversation. Like if you know what you need, right? So it's like hypothetically speaking, but this is why I manifest the shit out of things because I play this game, right? So like I could go to this guy and be like, hey, what's your timeline, man, to be opening up? Oh, you guys got 6 months? Okay, this is my biggest struggle at Spacebar. How do I market this thing? This is the demographic that I'm going. Who's the demographic you're going after? Oh, you want like athletes. You want a younger demographic with, spendable income, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's exactly who I wanted to go after. Let's do this. Why don't you, throw me a small investment. We're going to have our game plan is to put that all towards marketing. We're going to get the target marketing dialed in, the demographics for this area in Pasadena and where you are here in Long Beach, very similar. Let's run these ads. Let's get the imagery together. Let's run these ads. I'll go half on ad spend. You go half on ad spend. We spend X amount of dollars on filming this content. And by the time you open in 6 months, we know exactly what fucking works for this. Because it's a very similar concept. Ice baths, red light therapy, saunas. Let's nail this marketing. Yeah. That's my biggest struggle right now. Right. We got 6 months to do that for you. And you're going to do it at half the cost because I'm going to put up on it.
Yeah.
There's my solution right fucking there.
Damn, man. Action items, man.
So, I mean, that's why I do what I do because you fucking never know when things just might align because they've been aligning for me since day one. You know what I mean? Once I started doing this, yes, there's some fucking challenges.
Yeah, bro.
But so many things have aligned.
Yeah, look where we're sitting, man. Look where we're sitting at.
This is true, man. This is true. So, man, I mean, we hopped around a little bit on topic, but I think I love this, man, to be an extension of like what we started this morning, and I appreciate you. It's really dope to be sitting across this table and be able to just locked in to have a conversation. When we first started, I was like, I feel like I'm talking to the people on the other side of the mic, but then it got back to just me and you, so I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. You already know how I feel about you, bro. It's a grind what we do, and what I mean by that, I know you what I mean. I know you know what I mean, but to anybody listening or watching, bro, it's a pursuit of wanting to present the best version of yourself to the people you love and you care about. Personally, I know Jacob and my brothers that aren't here with us on the show right now can concur and agree that, like, the people you love and the people you care about deserve the very best of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, my friends, you, people I love, my clients, they deserve Anthony at his very best. And the only person responsible for that is me. And the only person that's going to take care of that responsibility is me. It has to happen every day. And the fact that you and I can connect like this, it's kind of unfortunate that the fellas can't be here with us right now, but I'm absolutely like humbled and grateful to like connect with you, dude, because man, I'm telling you, since the first time I met you, bro, I'm like, yo, this is your spot. Where I come from, bro, this kind of shit just doesn't land like this, man. So, from a place of love, man, I want to tell you I fucking love you. I want you to encourage you to fucking have some fucking compassion for yourself, man. You're a fucking G. And what you're doing is inspiring me, dude. I mean, we're very close in age, man, but this is fly. This is fly. And you're manifesting it in real life, in real time. And it's fucking fly to watch it, bro, straight up.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It's like, an extension of like the people around you deserving the best version. I think, just confirmation that, you deserve the best version of yourself too, and myself, right? Like it starts there. We deserve to be the best versions of ourselves. So like quit cutting ourselves short and, get right with that, man. And that's a note to self, you know what I'm saying? So, well, shit, here we are, man, knocking on an hour's time.
Already?
And, that's our commitment here to try to keep under an hour.
Hey.
But as you mentioned with the men's group, and we're gonna make an effort to make our in-person men's group a little bit more dialed in. Shut the door a little bit, but we also are having these conversations to open up the door to a lot of other people. So as we just played around with going live, not much came of that. I mean, we were focused on each other here, but we do want to do more of this. So as we do this and we figure out how to share these conversations at a to a wider group of people, let us know any ideas that you might have to do so, whether it is going live collectively on one of our pages or whatever platform that we can bring in some conversations. I mean, we've talked about doing some in-person meetups, kind of panel discussions as well. But this is why we do this, because it is. I mean, shit. Honestly, like I mentioned earlier, this is selfish. This is selfish play. Like if we can elevate the consciousness of our fellow gentlemen out there, we're gonna be able to work together. I'm gonna feel less inadequate. I'm gonna feel more accepted, right? You know what I'm saying? Because we're all playing by the same rules at the end of the day. But give us your feedback on that. But really appreciate everyone for tuning in and catching this live and listening to the playback. So you guys can always find me at Cub_Saldana if you need me on Instagram and Ant Woods.
At Ant_Woods with a Z. Hit me anytime. Also, there's few people actually that have been messaging me about wanting to link up at coffee shops and just connect, discuss some things. I'm opening that to you guys. If you guys are in the Los Angeles, Orange County area, shoot me a message. Let's connect, let's talk, let's converse. If you're feeling some shit, you're not alone. You want to talk about some shit, doors open. Please feel welcome. Please feel free. Holla at me.
Yeah, shit. If anybody wants to meet up with Ant Woods in Pasadena, I'll even buy you guys coffee because I'm trying to get my guy up there more frequently. So,
Pasadena it is. Hey, can we say something about your spot, how fly it is?
I mean, it's pretty fly.
It's fly as shit.
Yeah,
it's fly as hell. So Pasadena it is. Orange County it is. Guys, let me just say one more time, man. In the gym, when we get under some shit that's heavy, we ask for a spot, man. We get somebody that we know is a little bit more equipped to handle or help us. We're not going to get under some shit that you can't get off your chest. That's stupid. So in real life, let's not be stupid. If you need help, you want to reach out, and you're under some shit that's too heavy for you, ask for a spot, man. That's what we do.
Yep. And with that, we're out. So until next week, y'all, you guys have a beautiful holiday. It's about that season. We're out. Peace. All right, guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Warriors Collective. If you like what you heard and this resonated with you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so that you get all the alerts and updates of when new episodes come out. You can also find us on all podcast streaming channels, Apple, Spotify, and your other favorite channels as well.